Welcome back, everybody. This is Tucker. Let's talk weather. The next major severe weather outbreak is about to begin. This leaves many in the path of potential tornadoes, and I'll let you know where I believe the threat is highest and when you need to be ready. Good to see you all again, and good to be back again here myself. We're breaking down a significant severe weather threat, but fittingly, I actually just got back from a storm chase myself. And might I add, it was quite a successful storm chase too. We saw 3 tornadoes in one day. One of these here near Silverton, Texas. The next one, you can kind of see it hidden here. That was a strong tornado near Matador, Texas. And we saw another one here, you can see pretty clearly, near Rolling Springs, Texas. This was all on Thursday the 24th. We even saw accumulating hail. Isn't that crazy? It looks like snow on the ground, but that was all hail from a storm. And your chase team was myself and my younger brother, Cal. It was a great 3-day trip, just a quick one. You can see the highlights in my shorts feed. But in the meantime, like I said, we have a big severe weather threat on our hands to get into now. So without further ado, let's take a look. We already have a level 4 severe weather risk for a good chunk of the north central US here. This includes Eau Claire, Wisconsin too, where I worked for 2 years. So I know this area pretty well, and tornadoes kind of uncommon this far north this time of year, but certainly the threat is very real. We have a very broad level 3 risk too, highlighted in orange, and an even more broad level 2 risk in yellow, which extends basically from southern Canada down to northern Texas. This will all occur on Monday. So this is going to be Monday's severe weather risk, and it is a very big one, especially for the second half of the day. The tornado threat, more specifically, you can see is much of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa, as well as portions of northern Illinois. That red zone, that's your medium to high level tornado risk. The yellow is your more medium risk, but there is still a threat for tornadoes, like I said, all the way as far south as Texas. Our hail risk here, very broad. You can see anywhere you have those hash marks, that's where you could have hail of 2 inches or greater. So there's going to be a lot of damage, even if it's not from a tornado, but likely from hail. And the damaging wind threat, usually this far north, we talk about damaging wind being the biggest concern. It's actually the lowest concern in this case. So not your typical outbreak for this part of the country this time of year, but it is what we are facing on Monday. We also have Tuesday to track. This is not as significant a threat, but it is very broad. And as you can tell, we have a level 2 risk for a good chunk of the country, extending from even the corner of New England as far south as southwestern Texas. This level 2 threat will be for wind, hail, and tornadoes. It does include much of the Midwest, which is where I believe we may actually have the greatest threat right through here. Wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing an upgrade to level 3 somewhere in that area. But nonetheless, this is going to be a concern as well for many of us. And even into Wednesday, it's a lesser threat. But right here, you can see in Texas, we'll be looking at this area to perhaps expand as we are going to be keeping an eye on a continuing severe weather threat. But Monday's the big day. Tuesday is a very broad day, and we're going to keep an eye on Wednesday too. By the way, if you guys aren't already following, be sure to do so. I'll answer all of your weather questions in the comments, keep you ahead of these storms before they happen, and we'll be going live, by the way, on Monday as this severe weather unfolds. Don't miss the latest with me here. So I mentioned this is a more unusual setup for this time of year in April, at least given how far north it is. But here's why we have this severe weather threat. We have our jet stream here, those pink colors indicating these strong winds through the middle and upper levels of the atmosphere. And that strong wind is what storms feed on to produce damaging wind, hail, and tornadoes especially. And we do have a lot of spin in the air along with this jet. Beyond that, we have instability as well. You need the wind energy and you need the instability to create severe weather. So that's what we're looking at on Monday, and the jet and this instability, it's all going to be slowly shifting eastwards as we head into Tuesday. So we have that unusual crossover of a strong jet, the instability, which goes very far north. A lot of times this is held farther south. And with those two pieces together, along with the spin in the atmosphere, we get severe weather. And as I mentioned a moment ago, a higher end tornado threat. Now, as for the timing, you can actually see beginning early Monday morning, there will be storms ongoing. These storms are going to be elevated though, and that means that they won't produce so much of a wind and tornado threat, but more so a large hail threat. So that's something to be aware of as we begin Monday. And you can see a lot of that activity in the north central US, with some storms popping up elsewhere too. Now we're going to move this into Monday afternoon, and what you're going to start to see as we get into the mid-afternoon is more storms begin to develop along a line right here, and we're also going to see storms develop in the warm sector out here. The storms that develop in the line will be able to produce tornadoes, damaging wind, and hail. If anything forms in the warm sector here, and that's still a bit of a question mark, that's where we may have the highest severe weather ceiling. So It's a question of if things develop in the warm sector, but if they do, you really need to watch out. That's where we could get strong tornadoes, very large hail, and powerful damaging winds. But regardless, even if storms do not develop in the warm sector here, this is what we're looking at in the evening when the severe weather threat is greatest. And I believe it'll primarily be from 4 p.m. to midnight Central Time. You get some storms that pop up here in Texas. You may have some more that pop up along the corridor right here across the Midwest. We could get a tornado threat there as well. But the primary threat is going to be, again, out here across the upper Midwest and north central U.S. That is where we will be looking at the potential for tornadoes, damaging wind, large hail, basically through the entire evening until we get to after midnight. Here we are, continuing into that midnight hour, still plenty of storm activity, still an potential for severe weather out here, like I said, along the front. And as we get into the later overnight hours, that threat is going to die down in the north central U.S., but it may persist here across portions of the Midwest like Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and that will take us into Tuesday. Tuesday's severe weather threat here, you can see, is going to begin in the morning because some of those storms just never die. But as we get into the afternoon as well, we're going to see more development. This will be more so early afternoon to late afternoon, but more development along that front I was talking about before. You can see a very broad area where storms will pop up and where severe weather will be possible. And like I said, I personally believe that this corridor here may be of highest concern where we could see an upgrade to a level 3 risk. Tornadoes, wind, and hail are all possible here, and that's something we will be watching very closely. And even into Tuesday night, storms will continue. They'll begin to weaken as they move east. But that said, you still could get some rumbles of thunder if you're as far east as Philly or even Boston, and still going to be looking at this activity in the central U.S. too, which is likely to produce some more damaging wind and possibly flooding rain heading through Tuesday overnight before things begin to quiet down a bit more getting into Wednesday. I can't stress this enough, but always make sure you have a way to get warnings and you have a safe place to go. You want to keep that nearby, and that way to get warnings needs to be really reliable because some of these storms may produce tornadoes after dark, and that's always a concern because people let their guard down. But stay alert and stay aware. And of course, I'll be here live covering these storms too as we get into Monday. Now, I do want to mention that our severe weather threat will not completely be over after Monday and Tuesday. As we talked about on Wednesday, there will be a severe weather risk for portions of Texas, Oklahoma, and perhaps surrounding states. But it's not just going to be Wednesday. I do expect we're going to see a severe weather outlook extended into Thursday and Friday as well. And you can see our low pressure system bringing some storms is going to likely produce severe weather across portions of the southeast and Midwest once again on Thursday. And I don't expect this to be a very high risk for severe weather, but it will certainly be one to take seriously. Looks like more of a wind and hail threat to me. Tornadoes may be slightly lower, although for the Midwest, we'll need to keep an eye if you're close to that low pressure system where there's a lot of spin in the air. And then on Friday, too, I don't expect severe weather will be widespread, if anything, but we will be looking at least a low chance for some severe storms across portions of the East Coast here. Just depends on how far north that instability gets, and these will be a couple days that you'll want to check back on. I'll have an update after this threat is over, and we'll be keeping a close eye on all the changes that follow. And I will mention, if you are in the central U.S. too, the good news for you and for a lot of the eastern U.S. Is that this weekend, after all these storms, looks much, much nicer thanks to this big high pressure system that will follow in its wake. If you're on the West Coast, though, sorry guys, looks like a rainy weekend for you. But otherwise, I'll keep you updated as I continue to track everything on the horizon as well. And with that, we'll wrap things up. So be sure to drop your questions in the comments. I will answer all of you there. Let me know where you're watching from, and be sure to check back for updates and for live coverage on those severe storms tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I mean Monday. So I'll see you back here very soon, and stay safe wherever you are.